Sometimes we believe that a little space can breathe new life into a relationship, that absence truly makes the heart grow fonder. That's what David believed anyway. He and Sarah had been married for 8 years, and like many couples, they'd fallen into a comfortable yet somewhat monotonous routine. The spark they once had seemed to be flickering, lost somewhere between mortgage payments and grocery lists. David, an eternal optimist, came up with a plan. He accepted a 3-month work assignment in another city, thinking the distance would be the perfect remedy. He imagined Sarah missing him, their phone calls filled with longing, and their reunion a passionate rediscovery of their love. He thought he was giving their love story a chance to write a new, exciting chapter. He had no idea the chapter being written was one of betrayal, and that the distance wouldn't make her miss him, but would simply give her the space to forget him entirely. The first few weeks were exactly as David had imagined. They talked on the phone every night, their conversations lasting for hours. Sarah would tell him about her day, how empty the house felt without him, and how she was counting down the days until his return. David would listen, his heart swelling with love and reassurance. He was doing the right thing. This was working. He'd send her flowers, surprise her with food deliveries from her favorite restaurant, and write her long, heartfelt emails. He was putting in the effort, convinced that his romantic gestures were bridging the physical gap between them. He felt more connected to her than he had in years. But then, slowly, things started to change. The calls became shorter. Her excuses for cutting their conversations short started to pile up. She was tired, had an early meeting, or was out with friends. At first, David brushed it off. He told himself he was being paranoid. Of course, she was busy. She had her own life. He didn't want to be a clingy, insecure husband. He tried to be understanding, encouraging her to have fun and enjoy her time with friends. But a nagging feeling began to creep into the back of his mind. The warmth in her voice seemed to have faded, replaced by a polite, almost formal tone. The "I love you" at the end of their calls, started to feel more like a habit than a genuine sentiment. He'd ask about her day, and her answers would be vague and dismissive. "Oh, same old," she'd say, quickly changing the subject. The woman he was talking to felt like a stranger, not the wife he had known for nearly a decade. The distance he had hoped would bring them closer was now feeling like an ever-expanding chasm, and he was standing on one side, completely alone. The real alarm bells started ringing when Sarah began to ignore his calls altogether. He'd call, and it would go straight to voicemail. A few hours later, he'd get a short text. "Sorry, was in a movie," or "phone died, just saw this." But the excuses were becoming less and less believable. One Friday night, David, feeling particularly lonely, decided to call her. No answer. He called again an hour later. Voicemail. He sent a text. No reply. He stayed up late, staring at his phone, his anxiety growing with each passing minute. Finally, around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. "Had a girls' night, just got home. Super tired. Talk tomorrow. Love you." David's heart sank. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his gut. This wasn't just a busy schedule, this was avoidance. This was secrecy. Fueled by a cocktail of suspicion and hurt, David did something he never thought he would. He opened his laptop and logged into their shared phone bill account. His hands trembled as he clicked on the call logs for Sarah's number. And there it was, in black and white. While she was ignoring his calls, she had been on the phone with one specific number, over and over again. Long calls, late at night, every single day. The number wasn't saved under any name he recognized. He quickly did a reverse search, and the name that popped up made his blood run cold. Mark. Mark was a guy from her office, someone she'd mentioned in passing a few times. She'd called him just a work friend. But the call logs told a very different story. These weren't the calls you make to just a friend. These were the calls you make to a lover. The screen blurred as tears welled up in David's eyes. The distance hadn't made her miss him. It had given her the freedom to replace him. The next few weeks were a blur of pain for David. He confronted Sarah over the phone, his voice shaking. At first, she denied everything. She accused him of being crazy, of spying on her, of not trusting her. But when he laid out the evidence, the late-night calls, the sheer frequency of them, her story crumbled. The anger in her voice was replaced by a cold, detached confession. Yes, she had been seeing Mark. It just sort of happened, she said, as if she were describing a minor fender bender, not the shattering of their marriage. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She simply stated it as a fact. David felt like he'd been punched in the gut. The woman he loved, the life they had built, it all felt like a lie. He had engineered this separation to save their marriage, and in doing so, he had handed her the perfect opportunity to destroy it. David finished his work assignment with a heavy heart, his mind a chaotic storm of anger, sadness, and disbelief. The journey home was the longest of his life. Every mile brought him closer to a reality he didn't want to face. When he walked into their house, it was cold and silent. Sarah was there, but she wasn't the wife he had left 3 months ago. She was a stranger with familiar features. They talked, but it wasn't a conversation. It was a post-mortem of their relationship. She told him she was in love with Mark, that she wanted a divorce. There was no remorse in her eyes, only a determined resolve to move on. David looked around the home they had built together, at the photos on the wall of happier times, and realized that everything he had fought to save was already gone. His grand plan had backfired in the most devastating way imaginable. In the end, David learned a harsh lesson. You can't force someone to miss you. You can't use distance as a tool to fix deeper problems. True connection isn't about grand gestures or romantic ideals. It's about mutual respect, honesty, and the consistent daily effort to choose each other, even when it's hard. David's journey to healing was long and difficult, but it led him to a place of self-respect and understanding. He realized his worth wasn't tied to someone else's loyalty. He had thought that space would be the answer, but it only served to reveal the truth that was already there, hidden just beneath the surface. Sometimes, the most painful endings are the catalysts for the most important new beginnings. This story is a powerful reminder to always trust your intuition and to build your relationships on a foundation of open communication, not on hopeful gambles. Thank you so much for listening. If you've ever been through something similar or have thoughts on this, please share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. We'll see you in the next one.